Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich, recording today from Las Vegas, Nevada. And this episode is brought to you by the SANS.edu Graduate Certificate Program in Cybersecurity Leadership. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has published a report with details regarding two organizations that were recently compromised via a vulnerability in Ivanti's Endpoint Manager Mobile, or Ivanti EPMM. The vulnerabilities were exploited in order to install a backdoor on these systems. That was essentially a persistent mechanism being used by these attackers. And the end effect was that the attacker was able to execute arbitrary commands on affected systems. There's, of course, always a chance that they hit additional systems that didn't report samples to CISA. That's very likely. Also, CISA did publish a number of indicators of compromise, like URLs, for example, hit in order to take advantage of the vulnerability, and also additional analysis of the backdoor that was found on these systems. The vulnerabilities that were exploited here were patched in May, so something you should have probably taken care of by now. But if you haven't, well, this is probably your very last chance. And if you find unpatched systems, absolutely make sure they have not already been compromised. And Lastpass is reporting that they have seen a large number of fake GitHub repositories that are distributing malware. Now, the reason Lastpass sort of came across them is that this particular wave of fake GitHub repositories is also impersonating Lastpass, in addition to a number of other software vendors. In the list, I noticed 1Password, for example. Also, DaVinci Resolve was being impersonated. Many of these GitHub repositories claim that they have premium or paid versions of that product for free to download, and they're in particular targeting MacBooks. Now, what the user actually ends up with when they're installing this particular malware is, well, no surprise here really, info stealers that are then exfiltrating secrets from affected systems. As with many of these campaigns, of course, the name of these GitHub repositories is constantly changing as some of them are being taken down. So this is just one of those things you have to be careful with. And yeah, don't expect legitimate software that usually costs money to be available via GitHub for free. And cybersecurity company Yarix did publish an analysis of a recent intrusion that used a little bit unusual entry vector, and that's the Oracle database server job scheduler. Now, I say unusual because we don't hear much about it, but lately there have been various reports about attacks against this Oracle database server job scheduler increasing. I can't verify this increase myself, but it seems likely that if a service like this ends up being exposed to the internet, that people will exploit it if that's successful. And apparently it has been successful in a couple different cases. The Yarix report goes over the various commands that are being executed via the scheduler in order to then again get persistent access to the exploited system. Also, what particular malware is being used here and what accounts, for example, are being created to maintain the access to this system. Something like this scheduler should probably, again, not be exposed to the internet. Well, I don't actually think that an Oracle database should be exposed to the internet directly. Well, and this is it for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for liking and subscribing to this podcast. And as always, special thanks to anybody recommending this podcast to their friends. That's it for today. Thanks, and talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.